Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning by speaking with Acting ASP Mahalia Bacchus of the T.T.P.S, and this morning she's going to bring us the crime updates as it relates to things happening on the island of Tobago in the past week. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Adanna. Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
Yeah, so we're going to get straight into the conversation, Tobago being a small space and, people kind of knowing what is happening around. So we just want to get an update in terms of where we are statistics-wise. And I know that there was some activity on the island as well last week. So if you could bring us up to date as to what transpired.
All right, so the police in Tobago, we continue to ensure that our presence is being felt on the outside in a positive way. So we have had several exercises last week, continuing over the weekend. Presently, I am responsible for the operations aspect of the division, and we have been forging ahead with what we call Operation Steadfast. So we had an increased presence last Friday. There was a lot of chatter about it. We had some massive exercises happening simultaneously within the space. You would have seen a lot of police officers, and it was being done jointly with other agencies, law enforcement agencies, such as the licensing. And we had a little training going on with other officers from the Port Authority as well as the Airport Authority. And what was amazing is that we had, coming out of it, close to at least 40 tickets being issued to persons. And high on that list were persons driving around without any insurance for their vehicles. So think about you paying your insurance, being on the roadway, doing what you need, what you are supposed to do, and there's somebody on the outside without any, you get into an accident, and it's difficult now for you to get your compensation from there because they have no insurance. So it is something that we have to be mindful of. The members of the public, do what is expected of you in terms of having your driver's permit up to date and your insurance up to date, right? So that your vehicle can be on the roadway in the proper manner.
I know there was some arrests as well in the week, so let's talk about that.
Yes, we also had persons being arrested for a large quantity of cocaine. Over on that said day, we had that same Operation Steadfast. We had people that have been arrested for that. We had persons being arrested for having marijuana in excess in terms of plants, because the law requires that you have 4 plants per adult. When the officers went into that home, they found 2 adults and they had over 36 plants at that house. So they were arrested, and they had a quantity of over 500 and something grams of drying cannabis as well inside the home. So they were arrested for that as well. We also had persons being charged for larceny and also for receiving stolen items as well, right? There was a business place that employees were involved as well as a member of the public, and items were taken from him, and they were charged by the police for that.
And as you said last night, I was about to say that I know that there was some break-ins in some previous weeks. I think 2-3 weeks ago, we saw some break-ins happening on the island. So can you bring us up to speed where that is concerned? I can't recall if we had a report on those.
Well, the police are working on a lot of them still. We had persons were picked up, but as it is, you need evidence as well going forward if you have to prosecute someone before the court. So there are times we would pick persons up. There were persons who also made false reports to the police, and they were arrested and charged for that as well. We take very seriously when you absorb our time, as police officers, going ahead with a crime that you reported and the crime is not true, right? So there was a gentleman who was charged for that as well, right? Making a false report to the police and wasting the police time.
So Acting ASP, you mentioned the drug busts. Since the beginning of the year, have you seen an increase in the amount of busts the police has been making, and you're making inroads into the seizure of these illicit drugs?
I would say yes. And what is particularly concerning for me is the fact that we are meeting more and more persons are getting charged for possession of cocaine, right? And when you look at some of the persons, they are young people. So this is very concerning for me, that these people are being charged for that type of offense, because we know how serious that is and what it can do health-wise to an individual. And when the addiction is on, it's one of the most difficult addictions to get yourself off of. So it is very concerning for me when I see the numbers are increasing in terms of people being charged for possession of cocaine.
As you mentioned, the increasing number of persons being charged for possession of cocaine, I was now about to ask, is it that you're seeing an increase in usage in Tobago, or is it more that persons are getting into it to go into the transshipment business?
All right, so most of the time, when you look at the cocaine, what we get here is crack cocaine. So the person that was arrested over the weekend there, he was like a dealer, right? He sells the narcotics, and then we have a lot of people now using the narcotics. So you have the users as well, purchasing from persons like them. So when we make those type of arrests, it sends a serious dent into the entire system that they have. So we are assisting in terms of breaking it down, right? I am seeing, sometimes you look around, you see some different faces around the space with persons using it. And then we have people who, there are times they are users, but they're not on the outside or in the streets or that kind of thing on the outside. So I am saying, if you know somebody in that position and you could assist them in terms of getting help, we need to make that intervention as quickly as possible to assist these persons.
And in terms of, let's talk now about partnerships and collaborations. You know, we always talk about, if you see something, say something. How has the relationship been with, and we will ask this question every week because we want to make sure we stay on top of persons partnering with the T.T.P.S. to ensure that, you know, our communities, our homes, our streets are safe. And if we're talking about stuff like narcotics, and we see younger people also getting involved in buying and selling narcotics as well. How has that been in terms of gathering information and intelligence to, you know, to be able to attack with full force, if I could use those words from our late Prime Minister, President, and, you know, Chief Secretary as well, Mr. A.N.R. Robinson, the late. How has it assisted in the curbing of buying and selling narcotics, especially among younger people?
So I think that there are a lot of members in the public who do not stand for things like this, and wherever possible they would tend to reach out to the police, because there was one circumstance where a perpetrator had gone into someone's home and started growing marijuana in the home. Right? The caretaker for the place came to take care of the place and recognized that someone is they're seeing weed around the outside. When they took a look on the inside, there were a set of pots on the inside, and they didn't hesitate to contact the police. So we still have that relationship where some people do not stand for things like this, and they are always willing to share that information with us. We also have our intelligence area where our officers are constantly on the outside, and lots of members of the public who provide information to them in relation to instances like these that leads to some of the success that we have. So I just want to say thank you very much to the members of the public who continue to work with the police and share information so that we are able to help to eradicate some of these things from our streets and homes on the outside.
ASP, I just wanted to continue on that vein. We know that persons are helping the police to police the community, and that's very commendable. But a lot more persons, they have a concern about confidentiality and sharing information with the police. I don't know how often you'll hear that concern being raised, and what is the T.T.P.S. doing to allay those concerns?
All right, so we continue to build those partnerships and try to bridge that area of confidentiality in the police. And I can assure you that when you share information with us, it is with the strictest of confidentiality that we treat with it. I am very sure for the longest while you haven't heard anybody probably using the media to say, I told the police something, and they went and said, I said so and so and so forth, you know. We have a lot of activities where we try to encourage that working relationship with members of the public. So you will see us doing those town meetings And as I mentioned, town meetings, I want to encourage members of the public. When we have town meetings, that you come out and meet with the police. Because a lot of people say that they have issues, and some of it may be the same issue that you're speaking about in terms of confidentiality. If you don't come and tell us, because it is a means whereby we are able to measure what we are doing, right? And if there are issues that needs to be addressed, that is how we know that we need to do something about this or do something about that, based on what people come to us and say to us. And a lot of times we don't encourage people to be like calling a name or so on air. Our executive, we meet with the persons after in confidentiality, take their issues, and we treat with the problem, right?
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Acting ASP Mahalia Bacchus, and we just introduced the next part of our conversation. But before we get further into that, we have to go for a short break. And as we go, we invite you to help us.
Share the live, share the live, share the live.
We'll be back with more.